Timothy Leary, Infopsychology, a revision of exopsychology, a manual on the use of the human nervous system according to the instructions of the manufacturers. Preface to Falcon Press Edition, 1987. This book was written a long time ago, in the period 1975-1976. The subsequent 12 years have produced enormous changes in world consciousness, in American culture, the information, psychological sciences, and to say the least, in my hand perspectives. For example, when this book was written, Richard Nixon was in the Oval Office, being replaced by Gerald Ford. Decriminalization of marijuana had been recommended by presidential commissions and by the top medical legal associations. I wrote Exopsychology while serving a lone sentence in federal prison for possession of a half ounce of the stuff. Taking advantage of this government grant of undistracted time, I cheerfully involved myself in writing 3 books, and in warily avoiding FBI assassination threats. This enforced monasticism may excuse the wistful references to Alexander L. Solzhenitsyn, Giordano Bruno, Andrei Sakharov, etc. My caged status may partially explain the earnest yearnings for extraterrestrial flight, for O'Neill space colonies, and for bird-like escape from this Earth's heavy gravity. Well, can you recall those starry nights back then, when our very own Skylab hung above us in bright high orbit? The Washington Cape Canaveral shuttle had not been built nor destroyed by NASA communication breakdown. In our innocence, we assumed that the Shah, with the help of the CIA, would establish a Western industrial culture in Iran, that Israel was a Western democracy, that born-again Christians were pathetic, irrelevant kooks. How innocent we were back then. How uninformed was I, not understanding several great insights which would, in the next wild decade, clarify our expectations of the 21st century. I had, for example, not read Great Expectations by Landon Young. This fascinating and erroneously pessimistic book suggested that each decade of the last half of the 20th century represents a stage or passage in the growing up of the baby boom generation. A cohort 76 million strong, this new species of cyber kids, encouraged by Dr. Spock to think for themselves, trained by TV ads to become consumer gourmets of reality, were the first generation to explore and inhabit the info world. The first cohort of humans on screens, those shimmering, always changing mirrors of public consciousness. Nor had I, in 1975-76, read Alvin Toffler's The Third Wave or John Naisbitt's writings about the post-industrial, post-nation, post-collective consciousness. I clearly did realize that the smokestack, assembly line, factory civilization was winding down in smolid, rust, and acid rain, and I was able to spell out the 4 most probable next stages of our evolution as species and individuals. 5 cyber-somatic, the individual managing your own body using new hedonic aesthetic technologies to pilot through the sensory world which can only be experienced by the registered, imprinted owner. The emergence of high-tech paganism. 6. Cyber neurologic. The world of the brain, which can only be experienced by the owner, the individual navigating and reprogramming your own brain using new electronic technologies. Cyber neurologic. The world of the brain, which can only be experienced by the owner, the individual navigating and reprogramming their own brain using new electronic technologies to create info. Worlds more tangible and natural and livable emerges of electronic quantum paganism, high-tech humanism. 7. Cyber genetic. The world of genetic consciousness, which can only be experienced by the individual deciphering and reprogramming their own DNA. 8. Cyber atomic. The individual deciphering and reprogramming atomic infrastructures, piloting the new nanotechnologies for personal and species evolution. Believe it or not, I wrote this book in the antiquated world of the rag and blue book before the arrival of Eve's electronic apple, before Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had marketed the first cybercomputer, the first personal knowledge appliance which allowed individuals to digitize thoughts, process them, alter their molecular structures, communicate them on screens. I was quite blind to the fact that the new young generation would grow up automatically processing digitized thoughts on home electronic screen. In short, I understood cyber world, but not cyber world. I had extensively explored the inner worlds of consciousness, navigated a limitless universe of the brain, but I had no access to an understanding of the info world created by the electronic technologies, which were just about to change us from mechanical book people to quantum screen people. Home synthesizers, computers, audio digitizers, video digitizers, compact disc interactive system. My high-tech ignorance in 1976 accounts for the overemphasis on space colonies and post-terrestrial psychology. I did not realize that the first wave of alien intelligences, which would teach me the quantum language of the galaxy, would be found not out beyond the wall of the Van Allen belt, but would appear in my own house in the year 1979 in the form of my cyber son, Zachary, piloting his way around the infospace of video game and the asteroids, planets, and constellations of data to be explored in computer software. In 1975-76, it seemed clear that life was leaving the planet and migrating to space, colonies which the inhabitants would fabricate. These HOMES, high orbital many Earths, would obviously involve post-mechanical, post-near electronic environment. But I did not realize that the space worlds could only be built by those who had attained cyber quantum proficiency. Exopsychology now seems to me an important critique concept, but it places emphasis on the rocket ship hardware. The title of this book should be Info Psychology, the info worlds which our species will discover, create, explore, and inhabit in the immediate future. are not to be reached from Canaveral launch pads alone, but through our computer personal screen to explain these new ripples. My current publisher editors, Dr. Christopher S. Hyatt and Nicholas Thatcher, have allowed me to rewrite the first 16 pages of this revised edition. This new beginning permitted me to start shifting the emphasis from exo to info, from space habitats to information habitats. After page 16, also you, the reader, must translate and update my 1976 prose. Many of the terms of exopsychology seem a bit out of place. To update and clarify, may I offer some translations?